everyone, welcome once again to Arrow Discussions. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
Eric, today we have quite a few questions and comments to talk about from last episode, Birds of Prey. And I'm getting the sense that now that we are talking directly to the audience and addressing some of their ideas, that we're getting a lot more comments.
I usually only check the comments in the first day or two, so I haven't noticed.
Yeah, so we're going to go through quite a few things with this one because there were a lot of really insightful things, and also at the end of this, there was a lot of people making fun of me for something, and I'll talk about that as well. We're going to begin today with, like I said, this is from last episode, Birds of Prey. Before we jump into today's episode, Deathstroke. By the way, how many episodes in a row now have we had just names of comic book characters or teams or books?
3.
3. Yeah. What is next episode? Do you know?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I can look it up while you're talking.
I don't think it's one of those. But anyway, today's first commenter is Ali Silver, who says, and these are in no particular order really, in response to your complaint about the frat boy shooting the gun and acting really insane, I think you guys are getting your drivers mixed up. The first guy who Huntress paid to drive her car and who shot Roy was some other random criminal or something. The frat boy who they were talking about was the guy who drove Huntress into the city and had the line about how he was getting married next month. I didn't realize there were 2 of them. We had a number of people that cleared us up on that.
Oh, okay. I knew that there was 2 of them, but I didn't know that they caught the second one.
Yeah, I didn't either. I think the episode was actually somewhat confusing about that.
Next episode is Man Under the Hood, which may be a Red Hood reference.
I doubt that very seriously.
Okay, I'm just saying.
Either
it's co-written by Jeff Johns.
I don't know if we've had this discussion on camera or on the podcast or off the podcast, but yeah, I think that title is more than likely referring to Oliver and people finding out his identity.
Because everyone found out this episode.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like Ultimate Spider-Man.
Well, what one person found out and another person we thought would find out.
Well, and somebody else we found out knew.
Well, we'll get there. Bob Garland, I think in the season 2 finale, Slade is going to force Oliver to choose between Sarah and Laurel, and Oliver will protect Laurel and Slade will kill Sarah. What do you think of that, Eric? Because I've been predicting Sarah's gonna die, and I think he might be onto something.
I don't think that's gonna happen, and I don't think that Oliver would pick Laurel. I don't see any reason for that. I think he'd still pick Sarah.
Well, that's a good point. I really see Slade maybe putting him in that sort of a situation, even if it's not exactly that situation. You have to choose between 2 people kind of thing.
Yeah, I based on the ending of this episode, I'm interested to see what happens with Laurel. But we'll get to that at the end. I don't see that happening, but it could happen. I mean, everything Slade said, his plans are a little bit more grandiose than that.
They're really grandiose. But the question ultimately for me is, how long does he drag this out, and what kind of endgame does he have besides messing with Oliver? Because I feel like those 2 things are connected, but I still think he's got plans for after he's done with Oliver.
Well, he at least has plans for the city outside of Oliver.
Right.
But I guess
maybe
we'll see.
He's on just torturing him forever. I mean, we don't really even see any signs of eventually he'll kill him. You know, I mean, like he seems to care a lot more about.
We could have a Buffy season 3 opening where like Slade takes everything from him and Oliver's like on the run. Kind of like how at the beginning of Buffy season 3 she's working in the diner.
Well, and you know, that's a very Green Arrow thing too.
Mm-hmm.
For to like lose everything, and he already got his company taken away from him this episode, and by Slade. So that's I think that's a very likely.
Well, you know, in the comics, after he lost his company, they had the Hard Traveling Heroes with him and Green Lantern. Maybe we will get something like that. Probably not a whole season, but maybe season 1 will be like him and Diggle, like, you know, driving cross country.
You mean episode 1? Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I could see that.
No, they're going to retroactively remake season 1.
Well, I just thought it was funny you said that. EC Cons, the title is a lie. There weren't any raptors in this.
What?
Because it's Birds of Prey.
Oh, clever
George Simmons,
girl.
hey Cap, did you see the bit where Ollie is? I just got there. For a minute there, I was like, well, how do you know that person's gender? It's just initials. Hey, Cap, did you see the bit where Ollie is talking to Felicity, who's in the Arrow Cave by phone, and Diggle grabs the bow and heads toward the hood? What happened to that? Did he come and deliver the stuff to Ollie? Well, there's a line about, we didn't talk about this, there's a line about Oliver needing Diggle to bring him his costume, but then later I think he's just in his costume. I don't think we actually see him bring it to him. So I think it's just implied that he brought him his suit.
Okay, I don't even remember that.
RMD Glasgow, I felt like Laurel was standing up for herself. The DA's office was really out of line. I can kind of see why you'd say that, but at the same time, she's even seeing it as this is this really dark thing I'm doing. And she knows that she's not ready to go back to work yet, and this is probably a really bad idea.
I have to disagree completely, not with you, with the commenter. The DA's office was not out of line at all. Her boss was out of line, and he immediately got fired.
Yeah, and what he was doing was not sanctioned by them.
Yeah, no, the DA's office was completely in line, and she had no business getting her job back.
Yeah, because she got disbarred, and she was rightly disbarred.
Yeah.
Johnny5222, wow, it's a shocker. Eric actually liked something Laurel did.
I've liked stuff throughout when I found that there was something to like. I really liked her in the courtroom episode in like episode 5. I know there's another episode.
That's true. We I mean, we liked a few things.
Yeah. I haven't been universally negative. I've liked things with her when there's something to like.
But to be fair, and part of the reason I included this was I was also shocked that you liked that as well as
I know you were expecting me to hate it.
I was. I wish I had never said that to you on the phone. The Amazing Dictator. Huntress killed people left and right in season 1, both criminals and cops. I had that question. I couldn't remember how often she'd killed. A lot of people left comments and squared me up on that. One person said as many as 20.
I'm wondering if these people just have better memories than us, or if they've rewatched season 1 more recently.
Oh, that's a good question. And I mean, like, I'm not apologizing for this. I review a lot of things and have to keep up with a number of things. So yeah, I appreciate people reminding me of things because I just don't always have the time to go back and have it all in my head. John Curcio, this was their weakest episode, in my opinion. I feel as though the writers try to overcomplicate Huntress and Laurel. The whole embracing the darkness shtick works better with Slade and Roy, as they are literally combating the darkness within. Also, Huntress and her actress are the weakest pairing in the series to date. For me personally, she's as interesting as a slab of cardboard. I included this comment because of the darkness within bit. I think that's a really insightful comment.
I think I don't think this is the weakest or that was the weakest episode of the season. I think the episode that came right back from the break, I think, is probably the weakest.
Oh wow! Which one was that? I don't remember.
I'm looking up now. I just remember we were both like, "Really? This is what you followed up the break with?"
Well, yeah, I remembered us thinking that it was kind of superfluous and we didn't need it. That we could have kind of skipped over it.
Yeah, I'm looking up now. Oh, it was Blast Radius. Was it Blast Radius? That doesn't seem right. Okay, yeah, it was Blast Radius with Shrapnel.
Yeah, that's right. Who they gave one line a couple episodes ago and killed off right away.
Yeah.
Below 61, Isabel's been gathering babies to sacrifice to Darkseid.
Oh, well, that explains a lot.
See, I kind of thought maybe that was going on too. I meant to mention that last episode, and I totally forgot. I am not at all surprised, by the way, that Isabel that this was the episode they brought her back finally. Like, I don't know why last episode I kept feeling like, okay, next episode gonna be Isabel.
Well, and of course in this episode we found out that that's exactly what she's been doing.
Yeah, that's right. Also, below 61 had a real comment. How does Lance, remember this is from last episode, how does Lance still have his job? He's been ignoring all kinds of regulations all season. He's known to associate with Arrow, and this episode he attacked the cop and kidnapped the guy. Well, finally that's addressed.
Well, as we kind of find out this episode, I don't think it's known that he's been working with the Arrow. I think they
No,
suspected
not
it
that
but
this
can't prove it
has
until
been.
this episode.
That's right. Well, and I mean, I think that they were pretty sure at the end of last season, which was a lot of why he got demoted. But then he's been able to kind of keep it under his hat until now. Stelly777 had an amusing answer, Eric, to some of your questions for the
I
audience.
was going to ask you if people answered those.
Yeah, they did, and I didn't put a lot of them in here because I had a lot of things I wanted to. And sorry, this segment's so long. It's just there were a lot of things I wanted to talk about. Um, this person said, first, tuna. I'm willing to try it, but I can't say. Secondly, Oliver's socks are orange to keep everybody on their toes. And thirdly, the only way Slade can shave is with his sword because his hair is so strong from the Mirakuru. I like that. Tamer Mugo. Cap, I was on Wikipedia and I think this episode was by new writers, so maybe that's why the script wasn't as
Which we
tight as
talked about afterwards. We looked it up.
yeah, and that's why I put that in here. We figured that out, and I wish we'd talked about it on the show. But and a lot of the things I was talking about, I would have been like, I would have chalk that up to inexperience. Also, a lot of people wanted to see Merlin join forces with Arrow to save Thea this episode. Clearly, they went a totally different direction with that.
Oh, that would have
And
been interesting. I didn't even think of that.
yeah, it would have been, and it was interesting that more than one person came up with that. I think independently, but that makes a lot of sense as a that would have made a lot of sense as a way not only to create some really interesting drama with him and Arrow and get him back on the show somehow, but also to as a dramatic way for her to find out. I think I might have liked that better than what they did.
Yeah.
Divid22, how is just living in the Arrow Cave? He doesn't need a public persona, considering his name is Queen, i.e., needing an apartment, TV, house, and so or TV, RV, house, and so on. Yeah, exactly. Good question. I don't know how he's getting away with that. I don't think he's doing, and I think that's part of the point. This episode, I think more attention is drawn to it, but like Oliver's not doing a very good job at all at keeping his secret identity.
Yeah, and I'll get into it this episode. I feel like that should have been more emphasized
I think so too.
throughout the season.
Yeah, that should have been more explicit. I stuck you. I'm 100% sure that overzealous cop is supposed to be an homage to Brandon from Batman Year One, even in appearance. And again, more than one person came up with that.
Okay.
I wouldn't have thought of that. And then finally, I want to mention some jokes that people put in the comments about the mistake I made in the description from last episode. Did you see this, Eric?
No, I didn't see this.
Okay, so I must have been tired or something when I wrote the description, and I had a bit of a Freudian slip, and I left it in because people thought it was so funny. Somebody asked me not to change it. The description reads, Captain Logan and Arrow discuss the latest episode of Arrow.
Oh, well, that makes total sense.
Yeah. So apparently you weren't there that week, and it was Arrow. So I'm going to read a couple of amusing things people wrote about that. Captain Logan and Arrow thoroughly discussed the most recent episode of Eric. Josh 18686. Does this mean Eric is secretly Arrow? The plot twist of the plot twist. Amazing dictator. This is my favorite. My name is Browncoat Eric. 5 years ago, I was stranded on Geekvolution with only one goal: review. Now I will fulfill my YouTube promise to review every episode of Arrow. To do this, I must become someone else. I must become something else. Arrow. 671. That was really good.
Yeah, that was good.
Anyway, let's go ahead and get into 15 minutes in. We're going to start talking about this week's episode. Time for Deathstroke, and let's get into our general overview.
Wait, I want to mention something before we get to our general overview.
Yes.
This was the episode originally that was going to have the Flash come back.
Oh, thanks for reminding me about that. I forgot. Yeah. So they had to kind of switch gears and change it up.
Yeah, I'm really interested to know if. I'm wondering if Birds of Prey was an insert and that this would have been episode. I don't know.
Well, I don't know because surely they had planned on resolving the Huntress stuff sometime this season.
You think so? I mean, they
Yeah,
haven't mentioned her at all this season.
no, but I just got the sense that she's one of those characters that they would want. She strikes me as one of those kind of standard TV characters. Every now and again, we bring her back, kind of like Faith.
Okay, I mean, I guess that makes sense, but
Also, she was a character that very early this season I heard was coming back this season.
oh, okay.
Like
I'm just speculating. I would have been interested, I would be interested to know how the episode layout would have been different, because surely they wouldn't have done this episode with the Flash in it.
No, I don't see how they could have. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I would assume that that's the reason they gave Felicity a line about him in this.
Well, and I'm also kind of, I mean, everything's kind of heating up at this moment. I feel like maybe it was the right move to not have that episode. It feels like it would have been jarring to all of a sudden do this Flash episode. I mean, the entire season is starting to
That's
get,
the
we're
way
kind
things
of
are
stepping
built.
into the third act. Everything's getting darker.
Yeah, and I mean, like, how do you interrupt that? Because I mean, like Slade's manipulating so much behind the scenes right now. I don't see how you get away with a week where he's just not present at all. Like even last week when we didn't, was it last week or the week before, when we didn't see him at all, he was still there. I
Right.
mean, his presence still was very much felt. Well, let's go ahead and bounce back and forth between our notes. I'll start. I think I'm gonna go linearly. Here's a note I wrote. Anybody watching this for the first time is going to think Oliver is running for mayor because of the podium and the "I'm Oliver Queen"
I
opening.
meant to mention that, I think it was last episode, in the last time on Arrow type of thing.
Uh huh.
Yeah, I feel like that's been there for an episode or two.
Oh, did you think of that too?
I thought
Where it's
that
like,
too, but
watching for the first time, it's gonna look like he's running for mayor because it says Queen for mayor, and he's just standing there looking at the camera, and there's no context for it. I just thought that was funny.
my first note is, we get Brother Blood for all of 3 seconds, seemingly just to remind us that he owns a mask.
Yep, I had the same note, and I also didn't understand why Brother Blood had to be
I
involved
have
in
no
this.
idea.
And I thought that was a really bad move. There's a lot of stuff where I find myself really questioning Slade's motivations for making things so elaborate and potentially convoluted. And I mean, I don't want to come down on it super hard yet because I don't know where it's all going. But that's one where I'm like, why is it a good idea for Thea, of all people, to know that Slade is associated with the Man in the Skull Mask?
Well, when I first saw it, and obviously this isn't what happened, I thought that was going to be Slade's scapegoat. Was that the Man in the Skull Mask was going to be the one talking to Thea, and Slade was going
Yeah,
to be able to say, "Oh, I was pressured to do this."
but then at the end of the episode, it seems like Slade is perfectly happy with everyone knowing that he was the one who did it.
Yeah, we'll
This
get to
seems so,
that.
because I mean, like, okay, well, yeah, we'll get there. I did like, I mean, outside of the context of that weirdness, I did like that she passes by a campaign poster of Blood before she runs into the Man in the Skull Mask.
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of neat. So the jails are overcrowded because Oliver hasn't been killing people. Did he really take out that many criminals last year?
Well, if you remember the flow chart that we
Oh,
looked
that's
at,
right. The flowchart. Okay, never mind. That makes perfect sense now. He took
he's
out.
killing
Yeah.
60% less people this season.
Okay. I will recall that
That's
comment. Go ahead.
60% more people in prisons. Um, I uh, I I told you beforehand that I don't
That's
have notes for like the first half of this episode, so my
okay.
next note jumps way far ahead. So if you want to fill in a little bit,
Okay, yeah. I'll just mention a few things. Again, a lot of this is going to be kind of little, but some fun things and weird things. Why are the targets that they shoot arrows in the arrow cave right next to important electrical wires?
to heighten their need to do it right. It's like when you put the apple on your head and
Oh yeah.
it's that you better get it right or I'm gonna die.
Somebody please explain to me why Felicity Tell me if I'm just remembering those episodes wrong. Why would Felicity, in any way whatsoever, blame herself for Barry getting struck by lightning?
I have no idea.
I didn't understand that. And I mean, like, I don't know, even know if she's exactly blaming herself, but she said something about she did this and this, and then he got struck by lightning. I'm like, there's no correlation there. Like, I didn't think there was really that her dating him, unless kind of in a roundabout circumstantial sort of way, had anything to do with his coma.
Didn't she make him late?
Was it her that made him late?
I thought maybe.
Yeah, you're right. That is what it was, because he was late on the train.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's why she's saying that. Okay, all right. Couldn't we have had some build up to this Oliver never goes to work thing?
Okay, I have a bunch of notes about the whole thing with Isabel. Do you want me to just get into that whole thing? Like,
Let's go right ahead. Yeah, sure. And by the way, let me applaud you, Eric, for calling that.
except they didn't do it the way I thought they'd do it.
Okay, go ahead.
And I think the way that they did it works worse. I
Okay.
thought that Oliver was going to come back and she was going to be like, "You haven't been here all this time. I now own this company."
Yeah, and that would have been the way to go, because the way they did it, it's almost as if
Doing it this way, she should have been in like every episode, and they should have been building up the audience's trust of her.
that's exactly what I think. It feels like an afterthought, and there's a couple things in this. It is, I think, as much of an afterthought as the Roy really shouldn't have been dating Thea thing.
Which is addressed in this episode.
Yeah, which I'm glad that's addressed, but it really feels like cleanup to me. Like it's kind of like all of these subplots kind of got away from the writers a little bit.
Well, this one didn't get away so much as I feel like the writers introduced her, knew what the end game for her was, and then just let it sit there because they didn't have
Yeah,
anything to do with her. I think the way that they did this, it should have been like every episode or every other episode. She should have been calling Oliver. Oliver should have showed up, to a meeting after it was already done, and they should have built for themselves and for the audience a relationship where you would trust her and that this would be a big deal because as it stands, they did all of that in this episode. Um,
yeah. I almost, I don't know. It just seems weird to introduce her that early and then take her out that long.
it
And then all of a sudden the big reveal, oh, I've been working for Deathstroke the whole time, which is just not surprising at that point.
no, not at all. You're like waiting
I
for
mean,
it.
I mean, frankly, we've been kind of figuring that's probably what was going on the whole time anyway. But
It should be noted that that
especially because Summer Glau just plays a really good bad guy.
well, and it should be noted that she mentioned Sins of the Father, which I assume means that they're going with her comic book origin story where she's the daughter of Oliver's father.
Yeah, that must be what they're doing. That I had the same note.
Because she also says, I can't believe you don't even know. But yeah, so I thought all of that was
She
kind of
says, "I can't believe
fumble.
you don't know." I thought that was to Brother Blood. Does she also say that to Oliver?
She says that to Oliver because Oliver says, "Why are you doing this?" And
Oh,
she's
that's
I don't know if she says, I can't believe you don't even know, or I can't believe I have to explain it to you. It's something along those lines. And then she
so.
says,
Then
"It's
we
into
have
the father."
and if that were the case, and I mean, I'm speculating because they could go a different way, but if that were the case, then we're paralleling the whole Thea's got a father.
They just have
That,
illegitimate children all over the place.
well, and it would make a lot of sense to do that, because this is, after all, a season all about family
Which
secrets.
made me wonder if we're going to get to a point in one of the later seasons and Connor Hawk is going to show up and we're going to find out that Oliver had a kid with somebody on the island.
Oh man,
Uh,
somebody else. But yeah, like it would make a lot of sense if Slade. I mean, I don't know how he knows everything he knows. We'll talk about that too. But like, it would make a lot of sense if Slade um knew about Isabel, that's who he would want to work with, because that's another way to poke Oliver in the eye, as it were. You know what I mean? Like
that
it's
sounds
another
so much less threatening.
yeah, but I mean it's another thorn.
Yeah, I thought this whole thing with her was kind of fumbled throughout the season, especially seeing how it pays off. But at the same time, she plays it really well.
It's and that's the thing is that I'm having a hard time being like super annoyed by it because I think it's a little sloppy. Just overall in the scene, I think in the episode it kind of plays okay.
Yeah, well, it plays like they've been having a relationship that we've been seeing for the past season.
Yeah, you know what? Tell me if you would agree with this. I think if somebody watched this season like kind of sporadically and saw maybe a couple episodes before this and then watched this, it's a better episode. I think if you've seen everything, and especially in succession, it just feels like there are episodes where we need to at least be reminded that certain characters are still around. And I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. This just occurred to me, but I mean, like maybe all of this would be more interesting if she and Oliver had a thing a little bit longer.
Yeah. I'm just looking up now. It has been 13 episodes since we've seen her.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, they needed to do something with her. I and I'm not the show plays it like it's this huge reveal, and I'm like, I bet you most people don't even remember she exists. Like my mom watches this show, and every week we kind of talk about it. I guarantee you, she's gonna be like, I forgot she existed.
Wow, if she turned out to be Robert Queen's daughter, that'd be really, really awkward. That's an understatement.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I just thought of that. I was like, I don't know if that show's gonna go there.
Oh yeah. You know what? I just got what you
Right?
said, and I didn't think of it before. Yeah.
That is what you were talking about, right? That she would be Robert Queen's daughter.
Yeah. No, but I just
Okay,
realized the
are they
implications
gonna
that you just realized.
are they gonna go there? Are they gonna go to an incestuous place there? Because I don't think they're gonna do
They'll
that.
probably just pretend that didn't happen.
Well, I would assume that if they were going there, that it was like a really bold kind of move, and that's the whole reason they had. Well, anyway, let's move on because I'm. Wow, that's nuts. Okay. Now, sins of the father could mean all kinds of things. It could be something to do with like with like his father screwed over her family or
Oh
something.
yeah, I just assumed because that's her comic book origin.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, so my turn or your turn? No, wise.
Um, it's probably still your turn. Because like I said, I don't have notes for the first beginning of the episode.
So, Moira has that quick flash back to Malcolm, thinking that maybe I can't tell if that's supposed to be like she's thinking maybe Malcolm kidnapped her, given the context of the scene where they're all trying to figure out who it is. It's either she's thinking it was Malcolm that did it, or which I think is likely, or it's she's thinking about the secret and for some reason is worried it's gonna get out or
I
something.
think it's
But I
probably
kind
the
of wish
first one.
but I sort of wish that could have been done in a more subtle way because I never really care for those sort of spoon feeding flashbacks where it's like, yeah, we remember that if we've been paying attention. But then again, I guess if they really want us to know that that's what she's thinking right then, there's no other way to do it. I just always resist that, but that's a me thing.
Um.
Anyway,
Okay. So
your turn.
so so there's a line that said in on the island flashback, where somebody says to Sarah, uh, "When did you become so scary?" Which I had two issues with.
Okay.
The first one was that's really on the nose and felt like spoon feeding the audience. But then when I thought about it,
Wait, why? What is spoon feeding about that? I actually loved that line.
okay, I see. I thought it was really like, okay, she's doing things that you would think aren't, in her character. So they specifically stated. I don't know. That felt
No, I didn't have that with it. Here's the thing you got to think about contextually. These two people have been with each other on a boat for a long time,
right.
and she's been working for Ivo, and he knows her as the little scared girl that got sucked into his whole operation thing.
But that was the other thing I was going to bring up is when we see her when Oliver gets on that boat, she's not like that at all. She's kind of scary and
Yeah, you're right, and he would have at least okay. You're right. He would have at least seen the evolution of that.
yeah, like I didn't
Okay. I like that actor so much. I have a hard time.
I know he's good. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's great. All right. Yeah, you win on that. um, let's see. I'm a little surprised that Slade doesn't come up with the Deathstroke name.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of knew that last episode, or in Suicide Squad, they said we've been calling him Deathstroke.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay.
Um,
Well, I totally forgot about that. I guess it didn't occur to me that if they're saying that, that means they came up with it. Yes, of course. Okay. All right.
I do want to say that mask has no periffs. He already has a lack of depth perception, and he's adding to it by the fact that he can't see beside him.
Yeah, it's not practical. Also, I had a mask note myself. Again, this is really minor, but I thought because we usually see it in shadow, we usually see it in really dark places. The mask looks way cooler until they get it out in the light of that truck.
Oh yeah,
Because I thought that the mask was custom made to not have that eye socket on that side.
yeah,
And it looked way cooler when I thought that it just had one eye hole and he like deliberately built it to look like that. It's got a patch. It
yeah.
doesn't look as cool with the patch. I wish they hadn't done it like that. I think it's a lot cooler if Slade, because Slade's a millionaire, he could build this. Like you don't have to be a millionaire to build a custom mask anyway. I mean, like, why can't you just make a mask? And it's well, and frankly, it probably is custom because it's based on the mask that he found on the island. So
No, no, no,
why?
no, no. See, to avoid suspicions, he bought 1 million of the mask from one dealer. He bought
Oh
the
yes,
patch
of
from
course.
another dealer, and the
Right,
paint from a third dealer.
right. Yeah, good call. And he bought them in the 10,000s in order to avoid suspicion. So at least they'll have spares.
Exactly.
Okay.
We just
Anyway,
can't get away from the Nolan verse in this series, can we?
it's not. Nope, it's not possible. It doesn't happen.
Um, I loved the whole thing with Lance in the beginning. I thought it was so really smart and unexpected that he would just walk in and be like, "Okay, call the cops." And then when they twisted that, because I didn't see that coming at all, and then when they twisted that, where Slade's let go and all the bureaucracy of all that, and that you know, I I do wonder why Lance didn't just say it was an anonymous tip as opposed to saying it was the vigilante. Um,
Well, I think it was because, if I'm remembering right, I think it was because the guy that was calling him on it had more information about it and was pretty sure it was the arrow, so he just didn't deny it.
oh, okay. Um, okay, so Slade is brought in, handcuffed, let go with apologies, and then by the end of the episode, we find out that he really did it, or the public finds out.
Yeah.
That chief of police is not there tomorrow. Like
That's a good point.
they're like, Lance, we're pressing charges. I'm like, no, dude, you don't have a job. He brought in the bad guy. You let him go. You lose your job. The
Well, and I
media
like
is gonna tear you to pieces.
yeah, that's a good call. Well, and maybe next episode we'll see something like that because I did
I
like
don't think so because it looks like they're building
not
on the Lance drama, not chief of police drama.
no, you're right. I'm just saying that like I could see something in the media maybe, but yeah, you're right. I do like that Lance says exactly what I'm thinking, which is, dude, I had the right guy. I collared the right guy.
He's so good.
Yeah, he's so good. I do like that he's finally having to pay some kind of a price for working with the Arrow this whole time. I like that there's consequences
I
for it.
like that. I don't know where he's going. Like when the season started.
She's going to jail, Eric.
Well, but when the season
I can't tell you what cell block or anything like that, but he's going to jail.
and then someone's gonna show up and they're gonna have like his police badge and like his gun inside their body and they're gonna have to pull it out for him.
Well, you know what? You know what the next thing that happens, don't you? Either Laurel shows up or Slade does, but somebody tells him that the Arrow is Oliver Queen.
Yeah, probably. But
I think
um
by the end of this, every character that you and I can rattle off by name knows that Oliver is the Arrow.
Well,
If we've heard of them.
but when we started this season, he was bumped down to beat cop, but he was working with the Arrow, and it looked like they were maybe kind of setting him on the road to becoming that Commissioner Gordon type character. Like he'd get back his detective shield, and that hasn't happened. And this is going even further from that. I don't know what the future of that character is,
I don't
and I
either.
really like that.
I do too. He could die. I mean, frankly, I feel like somebody's dying at the end of the
I
season.
wish it wasn't as contrived as it was, because really, that police chief, he's gone.
Well, and I guess we can talk about this in a minute when we get there. I kind of think that I'm kind of of two minds about this because I question a lot of things Oliver did in this, and then so did Roy. So I'm supposed to.
Yes.
Did you have that where I'm like, yeah, why would you take him to the police? Like he made a lot of really
Well,
irrational
see, I
choices.
thought taking him to
It
police
didn't seem
made
based on
perfect sense.
anything.
I thought
What's
that
that?
was the most logical thing to do.
Why? Oh, just to get. Well, I guess to get him, in the public eye, so everybody knows
Well,
what
and
he's.
theoretically, that takes him off the board.
Well, yeah, except he's got the Mirakuru. He knows the cops can't hold him.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't
He knows that
really.
because what he needs to do is what Oliver wants to do right now is whatever he has to do to protect his family, and he's not gonna let getting arrested stop that.
Right.
Oliver also knows that he has a very large group of people that are or likely has some kind of crazy organization behind him or something. He seems to have, from Oliver's perspective, he seems to have help. So even if he's in jail, there's still people on the outside that are likely to be going after his family. I really question that.
Yeah. I mean, he's clearly been making some wrong decisions, and that's kind of the point of the end of the episode.
Yeah,
And
it is. So it's awkward for me because like they made a point of it. So they're not being sloppy in that they don't know they're doing it. At the same time, it seems like some of the choices Oliver is making are conveniently exactly the things Slade wants him to do, but I don't know how he arrives at some of those
I have some
choices.
notes about Slade's plan when we get to the end of the episode.
Well, and again, I don't know where it's all going, but it seems pretty convoluted to me so far.
Yeah, but I really liked, because usually when Oliver's doing something that's not exactly right, we have the Diggle talk. I really liked that this episode not only was someone else having issues with Oliver, but it wasn't even to Oliver, it was Team Arrow. Like we've
Yeah,
never seen something like that before in this show.
yeah, it's almost disappointing that Oliver walked in and stopped it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. That was a great scene. Well, and I mean, we're getting to see those actors stretch their legs, and they don't need Steve Amell there on screen to support them. They are fantastic all on their own.
Yeah.
Um, what else have we got? Okay, let's go to the island stuff for a minute. Slade hallucinating Shadow, I think, is one of the best moves they've made this season.
Really? Because I thought
Yes,
it didn't add anything.
I think it's going to.
Okay.
The reason I like it is because if he's hallucinating, all of a sudden his motivations for wanting Oliver to suffer and everything for something that you and I thought was a little bit of a contrived stretch motive makes a whole lot more sense.
Counterpoint?
Yeah, go ahead.
Um, the actor played it so well, I just kind of ignored that, and so I was okay with it being poorly explained by this point. So to me, this just felt like an added eccentricity to the character.
Okay. Well, I guess I don't want to make a judgment call about it yet because I want to see how it plays out. But I just liked it a lot more because I could then imagine that this whole time he's had her voice in his head, and it just I don't know I guess I felt like I kind of needed something. I mean, yeah, you're right. It is an eccentricity. Um,
I didn't dislike it, but I was kind of I nothinged it. I was like, okay, what does this add? It's still him being crazy in his head.
Yeah, but I don't know. I guess just like seeing exactly how he's crazy, it doesn't feel as potentially contrived because it's like I guess I just feel like I'm seeing the writers think about it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Where it's not just okay. We got to come up with some kind of reason for him to lose his mind. I guess the thing is, it's like personifying the Mirakuru. That's what it is. Because we know that it's the Mirakuru that's making him nuts enough to think that to decide that Oliver deserves all this pain and that he's more responsible even than the guy that actually shot Shadow. I guess what I'm saying is I like it so far because I get to get in his head.
Okay. I didn't see this getting in his head anymore. It was, I don't know. I felt like it was just added on. I don't know.
That's that is completely fair. But that was my
Although if they
initial.
killed Thea like I predicted, it would have been interesting if at the end of the episode Roy had Thea.
Well, and what is awkward about it? I will say this: it is awkward that Oliver had hallucinations of her and other people earlier in the season, not on the Mirakuru. Now that the Mirakuru has hallucinations attached,
Well, and
I
that Roy doesn't seem to have hallucinations.
not so far. But he also doesn't have. But keep in mind that he doesn't have the concentration of it that Slade does.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like they had to put. Remember the line: if you give him that much, it'll kill him. Like I think the whole deal is he's got more than anybody
Okay,
has.
yeah.
I think that's the idea. Anyway, do you have more notes?
Yeah, I have a couple more notes.
There's a lot in this episode. Go ahead.
Do you remember when we were sure Solomon Grundy was going to come back?
Yeah.
He hasn't come back yet.
Well, not yet. Maybe that won't even happen until next season.
Okay, well, they specifically mentioned him when Slade showed up. I was like, oh, that's going to be happening soon.
Yeah, I don't know. Keep in mind that they introduced Isabel as a major recurring character, and we didn't have her for 13 episodes. Well, you're complaining because they killed a guy and we haven't seen him yet. So
Okay, I guess I have three main more notes.
three main more notes. Go ahead.
Okay, so I enjoyed this episode. I thought this was a really good episode, or I thought this was a good episode. Um,
Yeah, we've got complaints, but I mean, like, I thought that this was an incredibly entertaining episode.
okay, then we get to when Thea gets back,
Uh
and I'm just what?
huh. Okay, go ahead.
Slade told me that you knew that Merlin was my dad for years. That's not even true. If he said months, I would be like, well, yeah. He didn't know for years. She never makes eye contact with her mom. And somehow this is all of Oliver's fault. And she doesn't even address her mom on this issue. And I didn't understand that scene at all. I didn't understand the emotions. And I felt like it was all built around that one scene last episode where she
Yeah,
says, you never lie to me, which we
yeah,
both said was kind of shoehorned in.
that's exactly what it was. Yeah, they're building it all around that, and once again, I think this is another example of an idea that we've not lived with long enough for it to feel like anything but just forced in
And
there.
why didn't Oliver just say that's not true?
Yeah, because he just found out a few episodes ago.
Also, he does this fantastic dramatic step back when she says,
Yes, I
"I know
love
your
that.
secret."
No, I was gonna say that's a note I had. I absolutely loved that. And of course, the audience is supposed to think that she knows that he's Arrow. And then what I love about it though is that I'm really disappointed at that moment that the episode is dragging that out. I'm like, what is Slade doing? Like, why is he telling her that? First of all, how does he know? And I'm
Yeah,
about that. But again, I'm sure we'll find that out. I think there's a good chance that Malcolm might be in league with him somehow.
I'm not so sure.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think
As I said that, I didn't like the way it sounded.
I
Yeah.
think that this is going to be something that's not explained, and we're just supposed to chalk it up to Slade knowing everything and being prepared for everything.
Eric, I really want to give the show more credit than that because even last season there were a number of things toward the end where they finally explained stuff that I thought that they didn't even have an understanding of themselves, and I went, wow, I didn't know this show could be this sophisticated.
Okay,
So
because
I
my
feel
next
like,
my next note is a big question that's
okay,
all
but
about his big master plan.
yeah, we'll get there in a second. I feel like this show so far deserves us to give it the benefit of the doubt on stuff like that. But if they don't explain it, I'm going to lose a little bit of respect for it, because I think it's smarter than that. I don't think it has Slade just know that
I
and never tell us about it. I think this show is better than that.
I think it is, but I'm slowly getting the feeling that they're just giving everything to Slade and they're trying to beef him up so much and make him such a threat. I'm wondering if
That it just doesn't even make any sense anymore. Well, and his plan is right now, I don't understand it, and I'm hoping that I will. But like with what I was gonna say is what I do love about that scene though is that once again this show making it seem like it's gonna do that old school CW thing of stretch out the secret forever with characters, pushing envelopes like the show likes to do. Then another main character finds out right at the end, and I really, really, really like
okay,
that.
wait, hold on. I'm not done with the Thea thing for just a second.
Oh no, that's cool. It's just that's related. Like I hated that moment until we got to the end.
Okay, and I can't wait to see what happens with Laurel.
Yeah,
Because I called way early on that she was going to hit bottom and join up with Slade. Well, I said Brother Blood because we didn't know Slade was involved yet.
yeah,
I'm still
yeah.
wondering if that might happen. But um, I why does Thea think? Because she specifically says your secret. How is that his secret? Why is the blame not being put on the mom?
It's all, well, it's two things. Right there, that is the script being dramatic. That's all it is. That is, and that's the thing I don't like about that scene is that it's one of those TV things of and there's a couple of those in this episode, um, of uh, of the show. Like there's one earlier even with Isabel, I think. The show wants us to think that she knows that he is Arrow, so she's going to say something out of character that doesn't really fit in the scene just for our benefit. That's what that is. Secondly, the whole not making eye contact with her mother and stuff, I think that there is potentially, and I could be off base here, a disconnect between what's in the script and what the actress is doing. I think that some of those lines might have been intended for her or for both her and Oliver, and that she's not playing it right.
Oh, okay. I didn't even.
Because as you were mentioning, re-mentioning some of that dialogue, when she says you've known for years, that has to be directed to her mother. She's not looking in the right place there, but that line just doesn't make sense any other way.
Yeah, I really didn't. And it's like the mom isn't there until she leaves and says you're becoming like her, or you sound like her.
You sound like her, yeah, and that's there because of that scene from last episode. And I mean, I get what they're trying to
How
do
could
with it, but I
Oliver even possibly
it's
know
too,
for years he was on an island for 5 years?
yeah. But like I said, that's one line, and I think she's just looking at the wrong. But
Right?
I think,
It's entirely possible it's just cut badly, so it looks like she's looking the wrong way.
yeah, you know what though? Then again, everything else is directed toward him, and at the end, she does refer to her mother only in the third person. It is a very awkward scene. I mean, any way you slice it, that that is weird. And again, it's kind of, I guess I have a love-hate relationship with it because it's kind of there. I mean, obviously, the main point is Slade's trying to splinter their whole family, but like it's mainly there as a red herring so that we won't know what's about to happen with Laurel. But then when that happened, I found that incredibly satisfying.
Yeah, no,
So
I
I guess
really like the Laurel thing.
I was somewhat duped by it because I would not have had even the kind of surprise and admiration for the way they did the ending if I hadn't gotten the red herring treatment earlier in the episode. So I mean that's a really hard thing to do. I am both praising and condemning a TV thing. um,
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I thought it was a really clunky, awkward scene that just
I agree with you. It was. Um,
um
I like to mention a couple other little tiny things, and funny things. Whenever somebody calls Slade Mr. Wilson, I can't think of Home Improvement. I can't help but think of Home Improvement. Oh, and I called it. I knew Thea was not going to die this episode.
You're right. You're right, but um something that I noticed this episode that I think might have subconsciously informed me last episode that she had to die was that he didn't kidnap her as Deathstroke. He kidnapped her as Slade, and there's no way she gets out without knowing that. And then this episode, he
But
just
then
doesn't care.
and then at the end, he's totally okay with everybody knowing that he did that.
Which, by the way, he's in like his office that he's always in, and the cops didn't bother to check his
No, that's not
office.
true. At the end, he's in the Queen's office.
Is he in the Queen's office? Oh,
Yeah,
you're right.
that's where he meets that's
You're
where he
right.
meets with this. They've yeah, that's the Queen's office.
You're right.
But to your point, because you're not wrong with what I think you're thinking. He is still going everywhere by himself, just I guess hoping nobody will notice. Because I mean, he walks right up to Laurel's apartment,
Yeah. Not even
and
like in the Deathstroke mask. Like this is
he's
a
not in
perfect
any
time to
kind
wear a
of
costume.
disguise. Yeah, he's not in any kind of disguise at all. He's wearing the same suit he's been wearing, I think, the whole episode. By the way, I don't know if you noticed this. His tie has targets on it.
Nope, didn't notice.
Yeah, it's got a circle. It's got a whole bunch. It's a pattern of circles with little circles inside of them. He has targets on his tie.
That's funny.
There's nothing more comic book than that. That's hilarious.
I have one other note,
I want that tie. I was really in love with that choice. Sorry, go ahead.
which goes into the whole thing of not understanding Slade's plan.
Yeah. We need to get into that. Go ahead.
What is Blood's role?
I
Because
don't know. I thought it was a political takeover, but now it seems like that was somehow or rather just a way to get Isabel to take over Queen.
and Moira wasn't even planning on running for mayor. They brought her ex husband back. What happened to Walter? Where did he
Well,
go?
I don't think that was a thing that was manipulated by Slade,
I
was
don't
it?
think so either. But the
I thought
blood
that
thing
was.
seems to be based entirely around the knowledge that she was going to run. But Blood was running at the beginning of the season. I can't figure out any other reason for him to run. But now I can't figure out any reason for him to run unless it was specifically to have a counter candidate that Slade could manipulate so that he would lose. And then he
I guess.
says,
Yeah, but then why would before the election even happens, Slade be completely okay with being outed as a kidnapper?
I don't I don't know. And like
I hope all this ultimately makes sense, but right now I feel very
yeah,
lost.
right now I have no idea, specifically with the blood side of things. I don't
Yes.
understand what blood has to do with anything.
No, he just seems like I mean like he just seems like um kind of a grunt right
It
now.
seems like that was like a half season red herring to get to the reveal of who the real villain was.
Yeah, and also like it's just kind of right now. I mean,
Oh no,
it
it
might
could
make sense.
totally all make sense. But right
Right.
now it feels like, and I
I
think
just
we
want to.
said this, I think we might have said this last season too at a similar point. It feels like the plot is bowing under itself and they maybe overplotted or you know what I mean?
Yeah, because we've praised this season really hard for doing so much every episode, and that it might not be able to sustain that. But then the thing is, we kind of felt that way a little bit at the end of last season. Not that it was getting that much accomplished, but that we got 4 or 5 episodes away and we went, "This is falling apart," and then it all came together and made perfect sense. So
I'm hoping
I
for that this
think
season. But right
sense.
now, blood
Me too.
seems to make no sense in the larger scheme of things.
Yeah, it almost comes off, and I don't know if this is right. It almost comes off like Slade was, really roundabout, kind of secondhand way using a political scheme to get his hands on a company. But the only reason that happens is because Isabel knows that Oliver has to go to a meeting he can't get out of, and then Thea gets kidnapped, so she uses the opportunity to manipulate him into giving her temporary powers so that she can then convince the board to take over completely. Was that actually their plan the whole time?
I assume so, but none of that has anything to do with blood.
No, it really doesn't,
If it
does
had,
it?
it could have been any other political candidate that Moira could have been debating. Like, I don't. The only thing I could think in this specific instance is that blood's the one that got tape in or the video feed in.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that I could be like, oh, he serves a purpose here. It almost
And
feels like he shouldn't have been running for mayor at all, and he should have just been the skull mask guy and be a distraction for Oliver while Isabel's building trust with all the board members, and he's distracted with this Mirakuru thing.
yeah, right now. But the thing is, I think the Mirakuru thing has got to be just a part of a large scheme, and the political stuff has to fit in, but it's just confusing right now because the way Slade is talking to Blood at the end, it's like, I promised you the city, and the Mirakuru is how we get that, and almost as if the race doesn't even matter
Well,
anymore. At
he
the same
specifically said, because he says, you promised I'd be mayor. And he said, no, I promised I would give you an army in which you could take the city.
yeah, what he
Okay,
says is,
but
I promised
if he
you,
said that to him, and then he set him up as to run for mayor, why wouldn't he think he was going to become mayor?
yeah, no, exactly. But what I was going to say is, one thing I think we have to keep in mind is the uh, what the secrets are that Slade gives people in Oliver's family and who he gives them to, because I found myself wondering if the reason he tells Thea what he tells her and nothing more is because for some reason he wouldn't want Moira to know about the arrow.
I'm wondering, now that we're discussing this,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if maybe the idea is that blood has been built up all this time, and Slade's going to do something, I don't know what, that's going to drag the Queen name through the mud,
Yeah.
or discredit them before he attacks, and then blood is going to be the white knight that the city will turn to.
Well, it seems like that would have been easier if he hadn't let himself become a fugitive.
Yeah, I don't. This whole thing seems the whole thing right now seems it almost feels like it's like Spike, where they have that thing where Spike is like, well, I had a really good plan, but then I got bored. I feel like Slade had a really good plan, but then he couldn't not stick his nose into it.
Well, he feels a little bit like Shinzon from Nemesis right now, where it's just like, well, I got this thing I want to do, but then I'm distracted by this other
But
thing.
then I
I
also kind of want to watch this guy die before me.
Yeah, and he's well. I was just curious. I mean, like right now it feels that way, but like I said, it's fun to speculate about it because like they've got me curious. And the thing is, they've this show has gotten so much credibility to me at this point that I want to give it the benefit of the doubt. And so I'm coming more from a place of I want to figure it out than you guys have dropped the ball.
Right. Well, I'm kind of going to be interested to see because right now it feels like we have a lot of puzzle pieces that don't fit
I'm
together.
having a lot of fun with
I'm
it,
going to
but
be really interested to see how it all does come together.
well, let's go on to best moment, worst moment, shall we? We're already almost an hour in, but I'm not going to apologize for that because there's a lot in this episode.
I
Eric,
will not apologize to you.
no, I don't owe you an apology. I gave you guys 15 minutes at the beginning of this episode. Eric, what was your favorite episode or your favorite episode? What's your favorite episode of Arrow? That's a new segment. Favorite episode of Arrow. What was your
It's
favorite?
Suicide Squad, and just like last episode, it was Suicide Squad, and the episode before that, my favorite episode was Suicide Squad.
That was Suicide Squad. Eric, what was your favorite moment in this
My favorite
episode?
moment was it was a really small moment, but I really liked when Lance gets kidnapped, and he's just like he what's happening hasn't fully caught up with him yet. We're just like, wait, but I got the guy. No, I got the guy, and he's not fully processing what's going on, and it was a really fun little moment.
Yeah, good call. by the way, my favorite episode is the second part of the Flash two-parter. I just want to throw that out there.
All right.
My favorite scene
My favorite
was
episode's the pilot because it was the number one.
it was the number. Nobody will understand what we're talking about. My favorite scene was my favorite moment, but in scene was Moira's speech to Oliver about the reason that she tells lies. Because I just thought that was quite a moment. And like I just thought everything about that scene was like incredibly well put together. There was some really neat stuff in the music in that scene, which is not something I pick up on a lot in the show and even talk about. But I don't know. She had a really well written speech there about like when our children are born, we're not worried about what we'll do to them. I feel like she in the show has turned into the Lionel Luthor with a conscience.
Yeah, I could see that. I think she's an easy mark for the end of this season. I wouldn't be
Yeah,
surprised if she'd make it out of the season alive. Although I think we said that last season too.
we did we were sure she was going to get shot, and it didn't happen.
Or that she was going to sacrifice herself in some kind of heroic way to stop Merlin.
I think I can guess your worst moment.
I assume I assume it's the same as yours. It's the Thea scene, right?
Yeah, that's mine too.
Okay.
Because it just didn't play for me. Um, Big idea is continuing through what we've had lately, but the big one that's really kind of that's mentioned over and over again is the idea of you being your own worst enemy.
And I've got mistakes catching up with you, or piling on themselves.
Yes, and those two things go hand in hand.
Yep.
Um, okay, I didn't really notice any guest stars that we hadn't had before that were major.
No, this was all mostly core cast.
Did you have any favorite lines?
Um, yeah, but now I don't remember where the line came from. I think it's Oliver to Isabel where he says you're very scary. Thank you.
Yeah, interesting that line keeps popping back up.
But now I'm not sure. Like I wrote down the line because I thought it was funny. But now I can't even really remember the actual like where that line comes from.
I actually thought this episode had a number of good lines, and I wrote a couple things down. First of all, I kind of disagree with you with the when did you become so scary line. Although once you contextualize it, I think you're right about it, but I still really liked it. Anatole, I thought everything he said was great, and I liked it when he said congratulations, we're not dead.
I liked this isn't personal. Well, maybe a little personal.
Yeah, I forgot about that, and I didn't even have that one. And then I also had he's tied up, we're not. Just everything he said was fun.
Yeah.
Um, I as far as really serious things, the scene, and this would have been maybe my second favorite scene, when we finally get some very candid conversation between Slade and Oliver in the prison, which or in the precinct, which I've been kind of waiting for. The A discussion with them alone in a room together where neither of them has to put on a front for anyone. I think it's really cool that we're like 2-3 episodes away from them meeting in the present finally, and now they can be themselves around each other. Really like that. And when the exchange where Slade says it was, or I'm sorry, when Oliver says it was 5 years ago, and Slade says it was yesterday.
Oh yeah, that was really good.
That was really
I'm
good.
just
I also,
sorry.
sorry,
Nope, go.
I also loved when he tells the police um, that he's not one to hold a grudge.
That was funny.
That was really great.
Um, I'm just kind of putting it together now because
Yeah.
when Oliver comes and gets Slade at the beginning, and he shoots him with that like tranquilizer arrow,
Hmm.
the carpeting stood out to me, and for some reason, you were talking about his tie and how it's got targets. The carpet is a big circle that his chair is in the middle of.
Yeah.
He's sitting in a giant target.
Yeah, why is he doing that? I don't think this is a mistake. I think they're doing it on purpose.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, like I think it's a subtle. Well, maybe it's not that subtle at all.
No, because
But
both times I specifically noticed the carpeting. I'm like, what is it
yeah,
saying?
that's cool. Yeah, yeah. It's kind of a symbol that says "Come and get me," and he is because it's one of those he kind of wants to be wherever he ends up. I mean, honestly I thought it was weird that Oliver played so much into his hands in this episode.
Yeah.
He's just not thinking. But I do think that the show has maybe done enough to rattle him enough that we might buy that he's dropping the ball a lot. Comic book references, this one was really, really light on. The only ones I picked up on were, of course, that Russian guy Anatoly. We've not talked about this, but he's supposed to in the comics. He's KG Beast.
Oh, okay.
That's who that is.
I wonder if
And
he's
this
gonna get juiced up on Mirakuru.
Well, I wonder that too. The thing is, we have him in the present day, and he's been a good guy so far,
Oh yeah.
which is really like, isn't he the guy that takes Oliver to Russia?
I think so.
I think that's the same
I'd
character.
have to rewatch that episode.
Yeah, I'm almost positive that's the same guy. But this is the first time we've seen him make a direct reference to the KGB,
Right.
and so I don't know if he ever turns, but there it is. Also, I was doing some research. I read this on comicbook.com. Isabel's name apparently was on the list.
Oh.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So they had her set up last season, and if you blink, you miss it. But there
Does
it
it
is.
say like when we see it on the list, like what episode?
Uh-uh.
Okay.
No, I'd have to go back and really look for it. But this is confirmed by a number of viewers that noticed it.
Okay,
So
interesting.
I mean, grain of salt. I don't have an exact. But I saw this on message boards, but like a number of people have corroborated this. Apparently, her name's on the list.
Okay.
I'm not real sure why anybody would make that up.
Why wouldn't, because Oliver seemed to have memorized that list.
Yeah, why wouldn't he know about it?
It was
Yeah,
probably on that page he tore off and threw in the fire.
yeah, maybe so. Well, real quick, let's go on to predictions. We talked about a lot of stuff earlier, but I think I still have quite a few things that we didn't even get to. Do you have anything, Eric?
Um, I don't think so. Nothing off the top of my head.
Okay, here are some questions. Is Roy vulnerable enough right now that he might be seduced by Slade and Blood?
I don't think so.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
I don't think that's the
I'm,
arc he's going on.
I'm wondering where he goes after this.
He goes to jail.
Roy?
No, never mind. Because
Oh, okay.
because I said that about Lance. You're like, well, he goes to
Right,
jail.
right. He goes, yeah, but Lance actually does go to jail. Oh, by the way, I didn't even think of this, but we should probably talk about this. So, is Laurel gonna keep the fact that Oliver is Arrow under her hat, or will she immediately tell Lance? Because I don't think that's how Lance finds out.
I don't either. Well,
But I guarantee you, they have a scene next episode where she visits him in jail. I guarantee you that happens.
yeah, I don't know where she goes next with that
No, I mean,
information because she's kind of on the dark side now.
she's a loose cannon, dude. Like anything could happen with her right now. She is mentally unstable.
Yeah.
Right? Like she could go any direction. I mean, she's really vulnerable. I mean, we took a character who hit rock bottom and hit the most vulnerable place possible, got her life all back. She's not ready for it, and then got this dumped in her lap. As much as I have not liked the yo-yoing with her all season, and I found it really tedious, even if I do ultimately like where it ends up going, I really like her having that information right now because anything could happen.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see where that goes. Speaking of questions about this show,
Yes.
uh there's that funny line about, do you keep your suit in a glass case too?
Yeah.
All right. So he's living in the Arrow Cave and he's going out probably every night as the Arrow, right?
Yep.
How often do you think he washes that costume? Because it seems like he just takes stuff and puts stuff in that glass case. That thing smells.
Yep. I'm sure it does.
I would wash it. Although it looks like it's leather, so maybe it might not wash well.
Yeah, well, it's just one of those
It feels like
comic
he needs to take that to the dry cleaners, but he can't take it to the dry cleaners without revealing his secret identity.
right. Well, it's one of those, but that's the thing is that you always had that problem
Next
with superheroes.
episode, dry
You've
cleaner
never
finds
seen
out.
no, you've never seen a superhero costume that it makes any sense to wash. You didn't ask about this when you watched Tim Burton's Batman.
No, I guess not.
You know,
Spider-Man washes his costume. We know
that
that.
is a
Both
yeah,
Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man wash their
yeah,
costume.
they do. And they both have costumes that make no sense to be machine washable. Like I don't buy it at all. I'm pretty sure that's like putting metal in the microwave. I don't think it works. Eric, I'd like to make a radical prediction.
Okay.
Here's my radical prediction. I think that sometime in this series, and I'm not suggesting when, but I think at some time during this series, Starling City gets renamed to Star City.
I'm wondering if maybe it gets like destroyed in this. Yeah, I could see that.
At some point, maybe not this season, but at some point, where they take what happened last season to its furthest degree, and instead of just the Glades, it's everything, and we get a Starling City become Star City, kind of like Gotham City, New Gotham.
Slade
And
attacks the entire city, and it just cuts to an exterior shot where it says Starling City, and the ling falls off the sign.
the ling. You will never in your life have another point and have another time to say, and the ling falls off the side. The reason I thought of this, and actually this is something that has been in my mind the last couple episodes for whatever reason. I guess it's because this show has gotten so comic book. They've borrowed so much comic book stuff now, and it's feeling more and more like Green Arrow to me that I kind of feel like if they had it to do all over again, they wouldn't have called it Starling City. That seems like that kind of TV show thing of we've got to do arbitrarily different things.
Right.
But anyway, the reason I decided to finally bring it up here is because there was a billboard, or not a billboard, but the now leaving the city sign. I don't know if you noticed it,
Nope.
and it says Starling City is a star city.
That's really dumb.
Yeah. And I think, or is our star of a or something, but like their weird city slogan has Star City in it, and I think that might be foreshadowing eventually a name change.
I hope so. Starling feels awkward to say.
Yeah, it does, and it comes from the same place as we've got to call her Laurel instead of
Dinah.
her instead of Dinah. Yeah. See, she's been Laurel for so long, I can't even remember what
Well,
Black
I think
Canary's.
that really helps my theory that they're not going to kill Sarah and make Laurel Black Canary. Because, I mean, she's not called Dinah. She doesn't act like Dinah. For all intents and purposes, she might as
No,
well
but
just be
the
Laurel.
reason I'm still, yeah, but I'm hanging on to that for a really good reason, and that is this show is all about characters finding their island. And I think that we see Laurel at an entirely different place at the end of this series than we did at the beginning. I think she will be as fundamentally different through stuff she goes through in this show when we get to the end of it, assuming she doesn't get killed off or something, as Wesley was in season 4 Angel.
You might be right.
And that's why I'm still on about this she becomes Black Canary thing, because we've seen it with Oliver, we've seen it with Sarah, and she's Sarah's sister. These people can't get away from each other. They go through these huge broad sweeping character changes like this where they are somebody at the beginning and then they turn into someone else entirely. I really think that happens to her, and I think that it takes the entire series before she gets to the end of it.
I'm gonna make a giant off the wall insane prediction.
Well, go ahead, man, because I just did mine.
All right.
Two
Well, but yours is probably gonna happen. Mine's completely off the wall and probably not
have to
true.
do with Dark Side and eating babies.
It's a little bit below that.
It's below that. What do you mean by below that?
Mine could theoretically happen,
Do you mean it's more tasteless than that?
but it's 99.9%
Oh,
probably not gonna happen.
Yes, I'm waiting with bated breath.
All right. Shadow isn't the shadow vision that Slade is getting is not Shadow, but the Spectre.
No way. Why would you say that?
I don't know. Vengeance.
Oh, oh. I'm just really happy that I set you up to say it like that. I don't know. Vengeance? Oh man, that's great. Did I have anything else?
That's what Bruce Wayne says when he goes in to like the annual HR meeting for like character review at Wayne Industries. What are you, Mr. Wayne? I don't know. Vengeance.
The night. I don't know. Batman, and then everybody just laughs. You're not Batman.
Your
You're not
build is exactly right.
No, it's a muscle
You
chest.
spend so much time. I don't know what you do in all that time.
I've got one very last prediction thing or question rather, and that is, Eric, what is it, do you think, that happens that keeps Slade from getting back to the States in the flashbacks in the boat and messing with Oliver's family? Because he says, I'm gonna go get him, and then it's 4 years later before Oliver gets back, and a year after that before Slade gets
Oh,
there.
that just reminded me of something I had a note on, which I'll bring up after we talk about this. I'm going to assume it's him building up his fortune and this seemingly really convoluted, but clearly insanely thought out plan.
Well, absolutely, but he kind of seems to well, I was gonna say, yeah, you're right. I was gonna say it kind of seems like he's planning on doing it before Oliver gets back, but of course he doesn't expect Oliver will ever get back. So, however, Oliver gets back to present day, or to present day, because it's a time travel show now. Um, but however exactly he gets off the island, that wasn't in Slade's purview.
Unknown to the public, Arrow is secretly just in time.
Just in time. So what was the other thing you wanted to
Okay,
mention?
so Slade talks about how he gets all messed up and the Mirror Crew regenerated everything
Yeah,
except for his eye.
yeah. I wonder why that is.
Yeah, that was my why. Why not his eye?
Because otherwise he wouldn't have a reminder of how much he hates Oliver Queen and all the things he's taken away
Well,
from
I'm
him.
pretty sure the
The
ghost
girl,
that's telling him to kill Oliver Queen is enough of a reminder.
well, yeah. That's true. That's true. But he can't. But he can't be Deathstroke if he's not missing an eye.
Well, yeah. I'm just wondering if there's an actual explanation
Oh,
why his eye didn't
I
come
hope.
back.
Yeah, I hope there is. It'd be weird if it can regenerate everything but
What if he's
eyeball.
lying? What if he's faking it?
What if the eyeball that I thought was a mistake was not a mistake?
Yeah, he's just trying to draw sympathy.
Like he has an eyeball, but somehow a lot of tissue is grown over it. I still think it was a digital error, but
I
but
still
who?
didn't see it. I didn't go back because I didn't want to ruin it.
Yeah, it was really cool looking until I actually looked at it. Well, anyway, let's go on to trivia questions. Wow, this was a long show, but I had a lot of fun, and I don't know. I've not thought ever, I think, this much about a single episode of television. Eric, let's go on to trivia questions. What was yours from last week, and what was the answer?
My question for last week was that Oliver Queen is trained with another weapon later in his career. The answer is in the 1 year later storyline. In that 1 year gap, Oliver goes back to the island and retrains himself with the guy that trained Deathstroke, and he learns how to use swords, specifically a katana, and he uses that for I think the rest of Winnick's run. I don't think he uses it in the Black Canary Green Arrow, but for at least the rest of that volume of Green Arrow, he's got a katana.
Wow, so it wasn't what I thought it
What did you
was.
think it was?
Pogo stick.
Oh, no.
It wasn't a pogo stick, Eric.
No, but it was so exotic.
My question for last week was, what sort of alcohol did Verdant run out of? And the answer was vodka. That was not an especially easy episode to get a trivia question from. Eric, what is yours for this week, sir?
My question for this week is, what writer of Green Arrow said they hated writing Oliver Queen and couldn't wait to get rid of him?
Whoa, that's a great question.
Hint, hint. It's the writer that kills Oliver.
So it's not Kevin Smith.
It's not Kevin Smith. No, he brought him back.
We all know Kevin Smith likes to write Oliver Queen.
Yeah.
My question for this week, of course, from the episode is, where does the League of Assassins get its pit viper poison?
From the pit?
Nope. No, it's not that.
Is it from a cobra viper?
I'm looking for a country, Eric. I'm looking for a country. It is. Sarah tells us that the League of Assassins has a poison of choice, and it comes from a particular country. What is it? Well, everybody, thanks as always for listening. Sure appreciate it, and I am stoked to find out where things go next week, because I think stuff is like less callable than it ever has been right now. Mostly because I'm in a will it make sense or not make sense?
I think you mean the week after next week.
Oh, are we not meeting next week?
Nope. It's the we're not meeting this week. It's the 16th is the next episode.
Or this week, rather. Oh man. Okay. All right. Well, that's all right, because I'm also going to have a whole lot of crazy, wild conjecture this week with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So it's gonna be nice not to have to do both of those in the same week, because my head's going to explode.
Why didn't Coulson's eye grow back when they brought him back to life?
Oh, don't do that. You're gonna totally confuse.
It's been a glass eye the entire time. Didn't even know.
Well, once again, thanks for listening. We sure appreciate it. And as always, feel free to leave comments, and we will talk about our favorites, the most insightful ones, and stuff that helps us figure out where we might have gone astray next time. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.